With the language, like I said, when I went out there, it wasn't taught in the MTC, so I had to learn everything in the field, which is, the best way to learn it. I'd say my advice to anyone that's going out there is, one, you're going to be overwhelmed with the language. That's something that's not uncommon in any mission. I think that it's important not to underestimate yourself, especially since you're called as a missionary. Like, you are entitled to that gift, the gift of tongues. So one, I would say seek that out, constantly pray and ask for the gift of tongues every single night, every single morning, every opportunity that you have to speak it, ask for that gift. Two, I would say practice. The Lord's not going to give us something if we're not willing to put in the work for it, right? So do your studies. Don't neglect studies. Don't neglect opportunities to learn the language, even if it makes you feel vulnerable and uncomfortable. I remember my companion did something to me that I absolutely hated when I did it, but I'm grateful he did it. He would make me teach a whole lesson, and I was out there for 4 months. A whole entire lesson. He said, he opened it up, and he said, okay, Elder Taylor's going to teach us a lesson today. And he didn't say a word. And when I turned to him to ask him for help, he didn't say a word. And so the whole time, and I promise it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever gone through, I had to teach that lesson. And it was hard for all of us, the giver and the receivers of that lesson. So yeah, it's put yourself in situations that are going to make you feel uncomfortable would be my advice on that. And also be very humble in the sense of take correction when it's given. Us as people, when we're proud, we don't like correction. We don't like to be told what to do and what not to do. So when your trainer or members in your area tell you you're saying something wrong, say thank you, because they care, right? Just write it down, practice it, practice the phrase or whatever you're saying wrong, and you'll learn from that. But if you're closed-hearted and you're like, no, like I don't care what you guys are saying, I'm doing it right, then you're going to be a slow developer in the language. So be humble, be teachable, or coachable, or whatever you want to call it. But understand that you don't know the language at the start, but you can learn the language if you're willing to. So that would be my advice: is don't beat yourself up, be humble and teachable.
I remember because I was in the MTC for 2 weeks, and we were learning obviously just English for 2 weeks, so I didn't know a lick of Marshallese when I first went out. So I didn't understand a thing. And the way that I learned it may be different than the ways other people learned it, but I did very well with memorization. So I'd carry flashcards around with me everywhere. In church, when we were in class and I wasn't understanding a thing, I'd memorize my cards. And if I made one mistake, then I'd make myself start over. And I'd go as long as I could without making a mistake, and then I'd make a mistake, and I started over the cards until I just got all of them down, and then I'd make new flashcards. So that helped me a lot. Another thing, I learned to count to 10. I learned to count by sitting down with one of the members there, just after a meal with them, or we taught them a lesson or something like that. We sat down and I just kind of got right in front of him, and I was like, all right, you got to teach me this. Please help me. I don't know anything. And so he started teaching me how to count. And he'd correct the way I said it. He'd make sure I said the pronunciation correctly. That's one of the best ways as well, is just sit down with the people, because they love teaching Marshallese. They love to hear people try, at least. They think it's hilarious, and they'll laugh with you. They might even laugh at you, but it's one of the more fun things you'll do, is sit down and just learn from them. Because it's better to learn from a native probably than from somebody who's not native, because they have better pronunciation for their own language, obviously. So yeah, that's what I did. I used sitting down with natives, and I used memorization. And for the grammar, I just asked my companion, my trainer, a lot of questions. I knew I probably annoyed him, but I was just like, I'm never going to learn this language if I don't ask questions, so just keep asking them. So I would just ask him a ton, and I tried to think about it constantly. So I just tried to think about the language constantly, really just to get my Marshallese ears going, because that's what it takes, is just engulfing yourself in the language.
Marshallese is a lot different from Kittibis. They share a few similar linguistic properties, whether it's like possessives, they're kind of similar, and a few common words, but you wouldn't know how to speak, or you wouldn't even understand Marshallese if you knew Kittibis. So it doesn't sound like Polynesian languages. It's more like a I don't know what it sounds like, to be honest, but I'll share a couple words with you, and then you can kind of make your assumption of what it sounds like. So, hello is Yakwe. How are you? Ijetamur. I'm good. Emanmur. What else do we have? For example, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is Kabung Ewan Jesus Christ. Imaramidro rekwajari lo rangin elegdata. And compared to Kittibis, which the church is Ana Yakaresa Yesu Christo, Ibuki Aika Isaki Nibonga Kaisira. So they're a lot different from each other, but I had the benefit of learning Kittibis first and learning the ways of what things that I do good. How do I learn the language well? What are my good study habits? And I was able to translate that to Marshallese my last 6 months. So I picked up pretty good. I'm pretty decent at Marshallese. And yeah.